Well, hello everyone. Welcome to World at War Comics. I'm very excited to have Etienne Kubwabo on the podcast to talk about his current Kickstarter and all kinds of other things. But before we jump into that, Etienne, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm currently in Scotland, and in Scotland there's this funny saying that about the weather. We have of up to about five weathers in one day. It's rained, it was sunny, it's gonna snow soon, but I can't complain. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm in South Texas, so it's sunny right now, but it could be storming with thunder and lightning in any minute. So we not maybe not as crazy as Scotland, but it does change quite fast here. But it's very humid, hot and
Okay.
humid. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a little bit jealous. We need that kind of weather right now because it's meant to be summertime, but it's raining. So yeah. Anyway, I can't complain. We're talking about comic books and everything. It's a good
Exactly.
thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Is Scotland home for you or is England home?
So Scotland is home, but originally come from Democratic Republic of Congo. So I've been living here for 12 years now. I feel like
Nice.
it's been a long time. And yeah, I refer Scotland to my as my second home. Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful. So where did this passion for one, comic books begin? And then after that, I would love to know where your passion for storytelling began. And was there anybody in your life that encouraged you around storytelling?
I think it's the opposite because growing up in an African family, families are sort of looking for their kids to be doctors, lawyers, or those corporate jobs. And I remember growing up in Congo, every time I came from school, I would spend so much time watching a lot of animated series like Spider-Man, The Legend of Tintin, because that's kind of like French, and at that part of the world, that's kind of like what we watched. And I was always curious. So my mom used to come from work, in the 80s, we had these big TVs, so it will heat up. So if you touch it, you can tell someone watching TV for a long time. So my mom knew that was me watching a lot of TV. So I got in a lot of trouble. So I came up with a different idea because I loved stories and how I would just see moving images, and especially the Spider-Man and the ones that I just mentioned as well. So I was just curious about stories and animation. So when she told me I should not watch TV during the weeks, we had this broken TV from the 80s at the back of the house, and the inside part of the TV was not in. So I used to get my brothers and sisters, my little brothers and sisters, to sort of lie in the grass the other side, and I'll start shooting out like Spider-Man webs like through the TV, and then they were like, "You're crazy, Etienne," But they didn't understand at the time. I was entertaining them because I was curious and excited about what I'd seen on TV. And in Congo, if you're in school, we had like one rich kid who would have like comic books that their uncle had got from America, and you had to borrow it like for 30 minutes when you're in school, read it quickly, and and then you have to give it back. So I really didn't get access to comic books until like 12 years ago when I moved to the UK properly, like just enough to kind of go through and understand universes, characters, and stuff like that. But when I moved here, my family was here. My mom didn't understand that I was going into storytelling. She's like, "Oh, I wanted you to be an accountant. I don't know what you're doing now," you know. But when I started winning a lot of awards and started doing books, and I made my first feature, she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna now support you and just be here. And I don't understand what you're doing, but I respect that." And that's how it kind of kicked off. So it's kind of been like a one-man journey, but I've got a community of comic book creators here in Scotland who are supportive, and yeah, they've been really great.
Yeah, I think one of the most popular comic book writers to come out of Scotland is Mark Miller.
Yeah.
And I think he's done pretty well for himself. He's
Yeah. I
he sold
remember
his
when,
company to Netflix and made quite a bit of money.
yeah, that was great. And you know what happened? When I released my first comic book, Beats of War, Mark Miller somehow got his hands on a copy of issue one, and he retweeted it. Within 30 minutes, I sold about 200 comic books from just that tweet. That was
Wow,
wild.
amazing.
And then he sent me a message saying, "Yeah, this is great work, keep going, and you never know, our path will cross. You never know." And yeah, that was it. That's so you mentioned him. I was like, I remember that time when that happened.
I just had him on yesterday. We were talking because he has a Kickstarter going on as well, which
Yeah,
is his first Kickstarter with
yeah,
John Romita Jr. So that's why when you mentioned Scotland, I'm like, oh wait, I know
Yeah,
someone from there. So you're the
yeah,
two comic book creators that I know that are currently living in Scotland, or it's their second home. So,
yeah,
but yeah,
definitely. And I'm sure next time you speak to him and you say Etienne, Beats of War, he will know. He will know. Yeah,
I will
yeah,
mention it next time for sure, for sure.
yeah,
But let's talk a little bit about Etienne Verse Studios. Can you kind of
yeah.
talk about what that encompasses? Because obviously, comic books is a huge portion of what you're doing, but also film. Can you kind of talk about that?
So yeah, when I came to the UK and joined college, I wanted to be mostly like make film and stuff like that. But as an independent filmmaker growing up in this industry, it's really tough getting funding to make film. And I always had an idea of making comic books, but I didn't know what story to tell. So that was just at the back of my mind. And I was directing music videos. And when I left college and uni, I did my first feature, which was a horror. Spent a whole year filming it. That didn't work out really well because we're doing it at zero budget. And then I was like, I need to figure something out. And that led to COVID when we're all locked up in 2020. And I wrote my first comic book because I went to Atlanta, met a friend of mine. He was like, Etienne, you just gotta make the studios come to you. I don't know why you're waiting for chasing people up to give you these contracts to direct. So he's like, if you have something else that you can create that you're excited about, that you enjoy doing, do it, and then that would generate money to make your film. And that's how I made my first feature. When Beats of War came out, it sold over 20,000 copies within a year, and I was able to fund my first film. So the comic book company Etienne Verse, Etienne comes from my name Etienne, so I kind of made it Etienne's from the plant where the character come from. So I made it Etienne Verse. So the comic book company is under the film studio. So mostly the comic books are funding my next project, really, and it's been exciting. I feel like the comic books it's like the 10-year-old Etienne, and the film is kind of like my serious job, but they're working hand in hand to support everything I'm doing. So generally, I love storytelling, and a lot of my family don't understand the comic book side, but yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun.
Well, let's obviously jump into your comic book. I have it pulled up here called Terra Squad.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and pull up the Kickstarter so people could see it. It looks like maybe you just started the Kickstarter maybe 3 days ago. Is it a 30-day
Yeah,
Kickstarter?
30 day, yeah. Hmm.
Beautiful. All right, bear with me. I'm just going to pull it up real quick so people could see it. And then obviously anybody who's watching, I'm going to put the link below, make it very easy for you to get over there and support Terra Squad. But let's kind of talk a little bit about the actual comic book and what fans can expect. We have this, excuse me, we have the story here. Can you kind of walk us through the background and how you came to creating this story and what these characters mean to you?
Yeah, so for example, with the 18 verse, I started off with Beats of War, and then I've got the Heineman, who's more like Batman meets Blade type of character. And with Terra Squad, I've always wanted to do a comic book that feels like Spider-Man and Ninja Turtles, but I didn't know how to do that. And it's so interesting because I feel like life experiences and things that happen to us as creators sparks inspiration. When I became a dad in 2023, I straight away felt that need to protect my son and make sure that he grows up to be the right man in this world, obviously, with things that are happening around the world. And I also, growing up, because I grew up in a really Christian family, you have to go to church, or you're not eating, or you're not doing this, really strict. But I always felt like there's so much about the universe that I didn't know, right? So when I grew up and moved to Scotland, I started researching about like the Ice Age, how the humans came to be, and I started discovering that there's more we know about space than we know underwater. So the whole curiosity about the planet and asteroids and all the things grew. So I always thought that I needed to, explore those themes and a bit of history of the planet and put characters there, but I didn't know how to do it. So when I had my son Uriel, who's my firstborn, yeah, he sparked that inspiration. I felt like I need to create these three kids who are spread across the world, who have this original blood of the Antarctic people who landed on Earth after the Ice Age. And they have a big quest. I've always felt like because we don't know so much about what's underwater, the ice and the ice under the water because of so much pressure. There could be alien life, and what if that's a huge threat to human civilization? And I kind of put these kids across the world. One is in New York, another one is Japan, another one is in Congo, where I come from, kind of like using real life, references. And then there are talented people who are sort of ancient and they're half alien, half human. They send out mentors to find these kids and train them and get them ready. Now, how did the kids get there? They are descendants of people from their tactics. So they hid part of their people within humans. So they sort of married them and the genes just kind of disappeared there, but they knew how to track them. So I feel like putting that sense of having kids who are leading a story. It's exciting. You can play around with superpowers. Their costumes sort of represent the sort of power they have. Yeah, so that's how the idea came to be. And when it comes to like new IPs, I don't really say that, okay, I'm gonna write a new story, right? There has to be something has to happen in my life. Either I travel and see something or have something like that happen to me, like having my son. That sparks inspiration and then ideas starts flowing. But previously, I always have been curious about the planet, I want to visit their Antarctica, but I've never been, I'm curious about what could be there, right? I have so many questions about how humans existed. And obviously, every time I meet my mom, she always tells me it's Adam and Eve, Etienne, there's no ice age, so there's always that crashing. So, but it's just my curiosity about the universe and how we can protect it. And then having my son in it, that sparks the inspiration of the story.
That's beautiful. I love it, Etienne. That's amazing, man. Well, here's the cover. So this is issue one right here.
Mhm.
And then you have some sequential art that you're sharing with us. The art looks phenomenal. I mean, it's beautiful. It looks
Thank you.
amazing, my friend. Yeah. So can you kind of walk through the entire team that you're working with on the comic book?
Yeah, so the team on the comic book, obviously, I wrote the first script of the comic book, and then the main team on the book is Clark Bint. Clark has worked on things like Rebel Moon comic books, House of Axie or something.
Hmm.
It's a series that Netflix released, so he did some work on it, and he was also worked on things like Killtopia. It's another sort of cyberpunk comic book that is quite popular in Scotland, in the UK. It's being published by Dark Horse Comics. So we met through a Comic Con, Dark Horse Comic Con. Thought Bubble Comic Con. I just mixed the names there,
Yeah.
which happens in England, and it's usually for like creators and writers. And Clark's art pulled me. It's so crazy. Like some artists draw, and when you look at a page, you feel like the images are pulling you into
Yeah.
the story. It's really weird to explain, right? And when we met, I was like, dude, we gotta do something. He's like, I'm ready, but I'm like, I don't know what we're gonna do, right? So this happened last year when I had my son. I was like, Clark, I have that idea. So that was like 3 years later. I have that idea that I feel would fit your style of art, and he captured it really beautifully.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the art is stunning. The colors are stunning. Now, is he doing like pencils, ink, and he's doing the colors, he's doing everything? Or do you have okay, perfect. I mean, that makes it a lot
Yeah,
easier for a creative team too, right?
yeah, I mean, I've got like an editor. Obviously, I have two editors who look up to what I'm doing, the more the company grows, like I've got other big titles like Bits of War and Heinemann. For that, I have got like a penciler, inker, and the colorist because they are much bigger books. They'll take forever. But Clark, for some reason, he's the first artist that I've worked with who do all the three, and he's fast,
Yeah.
right? Because usually, if you hire the three creative team, you have someone doing so. It's because maybe the penciler says I'll be slow if I do everything, but he's fast. He delivered on time, and I was super impressed. I was like, okay, cool. You can take all my money.
I love it. I love it. Well, can you kind of talk about Terra Squad and as far as the story goes, is this a one shot or do you have planned out more stories? Like, is it going to be a short arc or have you even announced any of that yet?
Okay, so with Terra Squad, I'm currently writing number 3 now. I've planned out to write of the 5 issues. and each will be like 50 pages. I'm kind of like going for that standard size because everything is sort of self-funded. I don't want to overgo for like 100 pages and then it becomes too expensive. So I've kind of mapped out the story for Terra Squad 1 to 5, and then I'll see how the fans respond to it. Already people who have seen the images are excited about it, and then we'll see what happens in life. I think with stories, like had said before, is you experience life, right? And then you find a way to expand on what you're working on. And I think with Terra Squad, it will work well for younger audiences, like kids who are into Ninja Turtles and Spider-Man, but adults like myself who like to geek out as well, who love stories, who see themselves in these characters. Now, Terra came from the Latin word to mean earth, and you've got the squad, obviously. And yeah, that's kind of like how I came up with the title, but it took about 6 months to come up with titles. You know how hard it is to do this. You play around with weird names. You're like, no, 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 I can't believe I was thinking about that. But yeah, that's kind of like the plan. We have 5 planned issues every 6 months to come out. Like I said, I'm still a small studio, so I kind of stretch out the releases so that I'm not under a lot of crazy pressure to release the books. Yeah,
No, that's awesome. I think that's very smart to be quite honest.
yeah.
But yeah, let's just look at some of this beautiful art. So this cover right here. Well, let me go to the top. So this is your cover A right here, correct?
Yes, that's a cover A.
And did Clark do the covers for all the covers for you?
No, he did cover A and
Okay.
C. So the last cover C is gonna be a wraparound cover. There's a
Okay.
preview of it at the bottom, which is still inked. But cover B, which is this one,
Hmm.
was done by Ben Wilsonham, who's worked on Beats of War series. He's got a different style, but I feel like his style as well is a bit vibrant and colorful, and I really love it. And sometimes I just want to give the readers an option of what they can choose based on their tastes and preferences. And I thought I would have the three covers, cover A and B and C. So the B and C will be like limited edition. So we'll have up to maybe 2,000 prints. And then the cover A, which Clark did, will be a mass print.
Yeah.
But with cover A is interesting because we went through like back and forth conversations working on that cover because we didn't know how the suits are gonna look like.
Oh,
We didn't
okay.
know how do we incorporate some sort of human look to the suits, without going too crazy like a robotic in a sense. So we went through sketches and sketches. He would sketch something, show me. I'm like, no, can we change this? And then I'll show him some references of some of like instruments from my culture in Congo, right? And then we would talk about how a civilization that lives in Antarctica, how would they be advanced, like the sort of technology they would have. So yeah, that's kind of like the three suits. You've got the blue one, which is more like ice power, and then you've got the fire, and the other one is more like power, a warrior, but it's more like a power related to Earth. She can control things around, and yeah, I feel like spreading these kids across the world, it becomes a bit of a challenge for the mentors to bring them together before the big threat comes out.
I love it. Well, here's the cover A. We just showed you cover B. Where is it at here? Here we go, cover
Yeah,
B,
that's gonna be, yeah.
which looks amazing. And you said cover C's on here too?
Yeah, if you keep going all the way down, you will see it. Yeah,
Okay.
down. Yeah, here you go. You missed it up there. It's still inked. It's still, yeah, so we have inks for it. So above that, just
Hmm.
above that.
Oh,
Yeah,
here we
here you
go.
go.
Oh, beautiful. Yes.
So this, it's a wraparound cover. So we have bits of it that are missing that you will open the comic book and you'll be able to see it all spread out. So I had this idea like last minute as he was like, I can do the inks quickly just for Kickstarter, but we're gonna reveal it once the campaign is like halfway through. But yeah, it's pretty exciting. I just feel like with these stories, I'm sort of tapping into my 10-year-old Etienne, and just there's a lot of crazy things happening in the world. I think comic books and film, for example, and music, it's the best escapism you can give people to sort of have fun with it, and hopefully for a moment they'll forget whatever is going on. Yeah,
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that is one of the main attractions of, not just comic books, like you said, music, film is to kind of escape whatever your reality is that you're going through, right? We all have a day that we have to accomplish, pay bills,
yeah,
you got your family life, but sometimes you just want to be in another world. So I love that aspect of it. Can you kind
Okay.
of talk about some of the rewards?
So the rewards, I kind of wanted to go all in with Terra Squad. So the top rewards will be everything related to Terra Squad. So you've got cover A, digital copy, and then you've got another physical copy for cover A,
Hmm.
and then we've got cover A with an art print of the Namasi King of the Atlantic people. It's like an art print that is inked that people can get. It's like it'll be like A2, so it'll be like a pretty good size. And then we have Tiller Squad plus two covers from some of my good favorite artists of Heinemann. So you've got a cover by Derek Robertson, who's the creator of The Boys comic books and the TV show producer. And then you've got Joe Bennett's cover for Heinemann, which is a cover. So these are all limited editions. So I thought I would throw them in for people who didn't come to the previous Kickstarter, and so you
Those are
can
big names
all the
too.
big story. Yeah,
Those are big names.
yeah. It's I thought I'll put it in there. I mean, I just want to get people to be introduced to these characters, and they are all different. They've got different themes and tones to them, so it's quite exciting. And
Yeah.
the next one is just the T-shirt. So you get cover A and cover B of the comic book, and you can get a T-shirt as well of the classic T-shirt. That's how I call it. So these T-shirts are sort of like exclusive to Kickstarter, so you won't get them anywhere else. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Makes
And
sense.
then you got another one here where you have all the three books.
Yeah.
Uh, the three books, and then you get like three trading cards, a pack of stickers, and then we also give you a signed script and an A2 poster of the Reptarian alien, which
Mhm.
is the main sketch that Clark did for the villains of the story.
Nice.
Um, so yeah, so the more you go to the bigger tier, so this is how you get heart, you get trading cards. These trading cards are limited to 250 as well, so we're not gonna make any of those. And you get all the three covers, and you get a T-shirt as well. And obviously you get credited on our website, social media,
Mm.
and we're gonna frame A2 posters that are signed of all the covers and send them out along with the package as well. So I'm trying to give as much as possible to the biggest, highest tier.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
A little bit more,
a little
more,
bit
more
more for
stuff,
the.
huh? I love it.
Mhm.
And then we got some goals too as we start to hit certain backer counts, which are great.
Yeah. So we got digital prints collection at 200, and at 300 backers, we're gonna give every physical backer a trading card, holographic trading card for all the physical backers. And at 400, we're gonna do an exclusive art poster done by Clark Bint. Obviously, that will be strictly exclusive for Kickstarter, so all the backers will be the ones to get that and no one else. And then if we hit 10K, I'll get Derek Robertson to do an exclusive cover for Terra Squad, and he's down, he's ready.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah. And
it.
then you've got like t-shirts that go with Terra Squad. I managed to come up with some really cool designs because usually you get those generic t-shirts with a cover poster. I just, worked with my designer to just kind of do something really cool. You've got the ice cup and you've got the characters and the titles sort of popping like 3D.
Love it.
Um, And then we've got like at the bottom, yeah, hoodies,
Uh,
you know.
I love a good hoodie.
Yeah. And then we've got trading cards. And then so those are the actual physical trading cards. I took a photo of them. It wasn't a great photo, but just to kind of give the backers an idea of how they look like.
Oh, great.
And then you've got the hearts. And then that's the
Oh,
alien reptilian trooper, and it's
love
holding
it.
a gun. And I think imagine that A2 printed
Yeah.
will be pretty cool. I think, just having these special things that you won't find at Comic Con,
Mhm.
it makes it extra special for the backers.
No, absolutely. It looks amazing.
Yeah. And I've been experimenting. So from Beats of War Universe, we've created our first statues. So
Wow.
these limited edition, 20 of these exist. So we're giving 10 of them on Kickstarter. We've already had 10 orders, so we're not gonna make them again. This was done by a company here in the UK through a fund, and they brought me a design at Comic-Con. I'm like, this is awesome. So they were doing issue 5 of Beats of War has ET fighting the nanorobotic invaders, and his power is sort of exploding and blasting one. And then he did the same figure. It's huge, it's heavy. You just sort of piece it together yourself. It comes in a box, and we've sort of made a manual on how to build it yourself. So we
Wow,
kind of wanted to create something special, really, for the backers.
that's amazing. That's a dream I think of every comic book creator is to have a statue or an action figure of their characters that they created, right? And you did it, so
Yeah.
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's and then I show the boxes on how they look like. So
Mhm.
you've got the menu and then the box of the big statue. So you get this, and inside of it, you've got the menu. You've got the boxes within each piece. So you pull it together yourself.
I love it. I love it. Amazing. And there it is.
There is at Comic Con and a friend of mine working on it. So each is handcrafted. So there's little details which make each unique to itself. So if you buy one and you find somebody that has the other, there's a way it will look different from the other one as
Oh
well.
wow.
So which makes it unique. And this year, I've been experimenting with different things. So if you go down, you will see some of the small figures that we've done. They're really cheaper but affordable. They're also collectibles. We're only going to make 100 of these.
Wow.
So this is our first ET figure. So we thought we put them on Kickstarter for
That
people
looks
who like
cool.
statues. Yeah.
It looks amazing.
And finally, I used to be a DJ before I went into making film, and I've always loved how music connects with storytelling. So every comic book I release has a soundtrack that I've produced. So I get musicians all around the world, like a different musician in New York or Sweden. So I'll write the music and they will, and then I'll record them singing. So it's kind of like Daft Punk meets Afrobeat. I would say that's the genre. So I've made original music soundtracks that
Oh,
go
that's
with each
cool.
comic book. Yeah. So that's the vinyl you see there.
That's amazing.
So that's the vinyl that has all the music.
That looks cool, man.
You've got the CGC graded comic book of
That's
Beats
amazing.
of War.
So,
Then
Beats of War was your first title that you created?
yeah, that's the first title. Yeah.
Wow. And you're on issue 5 with that one, right?
Yeah, we reached 5, so that's volume 1 done. So right now we are doing volume 2, which is gonna be 110 pages. So it's a graphic novel. I'm not going to do issues anymore because a lot of fans, especially like a lot of American readers, like Etienne, I just bought a Frobby. Come on, man. I need a big book. So it's just learning experience to be like, okay, yeah, we're enjoying these smaller issues, but we want more of the story. So going forward, I'll be doing graphic novels, and I've written all the 5 graphic novels. So we've got up to volume 5
Oh,
in
wow.
production right now. Yeah.
That's
So it's
impressive.
yeah, so we'll be having more books coming. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a picture I use for your thumbnail.
Yeah.
I love
That's
that
the one
picture.
at Comic Con. They got me at Comic Con when it was a long day. So yeah.
It looks good though, man. I like the black and white.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you.
looks good, my friend.
And
And
we've got
here's
Clark.
Clint again.
Clark Bent. He's
Looks like
this guy.
he's swimming in the ocean.
Yeah, somewhere. So I put the background of the Atlantica, because obviously that's where the civilization comes from. I wanted to go for that sort of code feel to the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And this is my third campaign, so like you will see from a first campaign, like the designs are getting better, so I'm sort of learning and I'm trying to build a team so that maybe on the sixth Kickstarter we'll be doing some really cool stuff. But even with this, we're pretty happy with what we came up with.
Yeah, that's amazing. And we talked about studios. Here you are
Yeah, at
at
Comic
a
Con.
con. This is a con in Scotland.
Yeah, that's in Scotland. That's one of the biggest one in Scotland. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So, just for American comic book fans, what does the Scottish or even just the English con scene look like for you? Is there quite a few throughout the year, like in the United States? Like almost every state has a con here. Some are bigger than others, but I mean it's crazy. I mean every state, 50 states all have cons, and
Yeah.
it's no one could go to all of them. So they pick all the big ones. But what does England look like?
So for Scotland, I've got like smaller ones. There's one called BGCP,
Mhm.
Big Glasgow Comic Con. So this is kind of like smaller. This guy goes on tours all around Scotland throughout the whole year. So that's ongoing. And then you've got one called Fun Frontier Comic Con, which is like the biggest in Scotland, in Glasgow. So that takes place twice, March and September. And it attracts about 60,000 people. So
Wow.
it's not at the level of San Diego. You know, San Diego is just kind of, you guys are like three days events. So but it's pretty good as well. You've got a lot
That's
of
impressive. That's a lot of people.
yeah, it's a lot of people. And we've got the biggest one in the UK called Monopoly Events. They do lots, and there are people. It's about they do people Comic Cons between here, London, Birmingham. They go to Northern Ireland. They do about 15 big cons
Okay.
that attract about 60 to 80,000 people. So those are the biggest one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've got like London MCM that happens about three times a year. That was 100,000 people. So it's big in England. That one is big in England. But it's hard to get all of them because you have to pay
Yeah.
for like a booth, you know. So, and if you book so many, you will get overwhelmed. And as a creator, you're trying to create balance. But there's so much going on. A tour around the whole UK, the whole year. And next year, I'm trying to come to America for a few Comic Cons so I can bring the titles down.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we just had Fan Expo
Yeah.
Dallas in Dallas, in Texas, and that one I have to look. It probably over I think it's 3 day event. Obviously Saturday and Sunday are the two biggest days, and it
Yeah.
probably attracts 25,000 people for that one 3 day event. So it's
Mm.
pretty good size. Again, I don't know what it's like in England, but in the US, a lot of the cons are probably 30 to 40% comic book. There's a big portion of anime and manga, and then you have the film. And San Diego's become even more anime and more film over the last probably 10 years or so, which is
Mm.
great. It just brings kind of like the whole nerd culture together, no matter whether it's comics, anime, and or film. And they now at San Diego and New York, they usually do their launches of movies. So with San Diego, obviously, they're going to be talking about Superman and
Yeah.
Fantastic Four and everything else that's going on at Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
But I assume London is very similar to that, where you probably have a lot of stars too, where you're doing autographs and stuff like that of movie stars.
Yeah, you've
Kind
got
of nerd
all,
culture. Yeah,
yeah, we've got a lot of American and British actors who come do a lot of autographs, and like you said, there's a balance between like pop culture stuff, comic book creators. But there's one in I forgot the place. Is it in Birmingham? There's one that is specific just for comic books called Thought Bubble, just comic book creators and writers strictly. And I feel like that's good, but sometimes when you go to one of those, it's hard to sell comic books because every vendor has comic books,
yeah,
you know, so it's hard for people to pick what to buy. But I think going to the other ones that do a bit of like, you know, figures, they've got like people doing signings, there's a variety, there's a balance, and then people have time to just okay, they get an autograph and then they can buy comic books.
yeah,
So I prefer going to those. I mean, I've tried Thought Bubble, but it's kind of like not my thing because at the same time, as much as I love making comic books, I like it for it to be sustainable in a way that I can keep going.
sure.
Because usually, uh, a lot of people will launch projects on Kickstarter and they'll struggle to finish. But if I go to actual places where I can make money from it, I can reinvest in the books that I keep them coming. So yeah, I'm a bit careful on which ones I go to, but yeah, the culture is wild in Scotland, especially. People buy comic books like hell. It's amazing. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. I think from working with some of the publishers like Massive Publishing, which Kevin Rodatelli used to be the CEO of it. He's just left to do other things. But he's French Canadian. So he spends a lot of time in France, and he was saying that France, Spain, England, and Germany are probably four of the most important countries outside of the US and Canada for comic books. So I know he was really trying to develop the Massive Publishing brand in those countries just because culturally they have a long history of comic books, at least in Europe. Do you get outside of England into like France, Germany, and or Spain for some of your cons, or not yet?
I've done Ireland, which is slightly out. It's not part of the. It used to be part of the UK,
Mhm.
so it's kind of like on its own now, and they use euros as well, so it was a bit confusing for me selling comic books there. But I've only been there, but I'm trying to apply to different ones like in France. So, but my friends are like, you need to be careful because obviously they want French comic books and you have English
Yeah.
comic books, so it's still a bit tricky. That's why in my top list is like the USA. I can
Yeah.
just because in Texas I've got family there. They're like,
Oh,
come to Texas. I've never been to Texas, so I wanna try it next year and come there for, Comic Con conventions and try and see how that goes. But here it's pretty huge in the UK. The comic book culture is pretty huge, and there's other big names that I hear like Grant Morrison. I don't know if you know
oh
Grant
yeah.
Morrison. You
Yeah.
probably know.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Legend,
yeah,
right?
I'm
He's a
doing.
legend. I mean, he's been and for both ways, people either love Grant Morrison or they can't stand
Oh, they
Grant
don't.
Morrison, depending on what they read. But I mean, he's a legend in the comic book industry. He's written so many amazing titles. So yeah, absolutely love Grant Morrison. I know
Yeah,
I
we are
have some
doing a
stuff of
story
his right
together.
here. Yeah.
We're doing a story together. I don't know if you've seen on my Instagram.
No, I haven't. No,
Did
really.
you not see the teaser of the crossover? We're doing a
Oh
crossover together.
yeah.
So that's how I brought him up. So
That's
we
huge, man. I mean, Grant Morrison is big, big time, big time.
Okay, so you know how I was telling you that obviously I moved from Congo, came to Scotland, joined the comic book community. So when I met Grant Morrison, I didn't know who he was. I had read his book, but I didn't know it was him.
Hmm.
And then the next day I go to Comic Con and all the comic book vendors are like, yo, so you're hanging out with Grant Morrison. I'm like, so is he meant to be a big deal? They were like, yeah, he's meant to be a big deal. Because sometimes when I do there's a festival in Edinburgh, which is quite famous, called the Fringe Festival, where different creatives come together. There's a lot of performances and talks, and so they put me with Grant Morrison to talk about, how we create comic books, but obviously, because we all come from a sort of struggling background with like parents who aren't maybe doing so well, and like a low class, and then we pushed ourselves to do what we're doing right now. So a friend of mine put us together on a panel, and in the green room, we were just talking about life. And at the end of the night after the talk, he was like, let's do something fun. And we've teased a bit about it. But yeah, that's how that happened organically. Yeah.
That's huge, man. That's huge. Yeah. One day I'll get him on the podcast, man. I've reached out a couple times, so fingers crossed that one day I'll be able to get him on and talk to him because
You know
he's
what I'll do?
legendary, man. He's legendary.
Tommy, what I'll do, I will, every next time I meet him for a coffee or something, I'll be like, so and so, you need to check out this podcast so that
Yeah. Tell him I don't bite, and I'm always very respectful. Very respectful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a cool person, a cool person, cool human being, super creative.
Yeah.
I've learned so much from him because obviously we had a time when we were working on the script together, and he was giving me some ideas and pointers on certain things that I've sort of taken and applied to the things I'm working on. So the guy is a master. I see why he's a master in what he does. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, no, legend in the industry. And then Simon Furman, I've had on, and he's another legend in the Transformers Hall of Fame. He wrote Transformers for Marvel in the UK for many, many years, then took over the entire title and wrote it for many, many years. In fact, Skybound just did a compendium of all of his work, which was a Kickstarter about 3 months ago, I think.
Oh, I saw it. It was wild. I saw it. It was
Wow.
it
It
was
was just
crazy.
expensive. I wanted to do it, but it was like $300 just,
Yeah.
but I mean, you get, I think it was 4 volumes total, which is well worth it. But that's
Yeah.
a lot of money to drop on one Kickstarter, man. So I was like,
Yeah.
I better
It's a big
wait, maybe
franchise
buy
as
those.
well. Yeah,
I'm
it's a
sorry.
big franchise. Yeah, it's a big franchise. It's so huge, so huge. I'm a
Oh,
big fan of the some movies. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I was gonna say some movies are really good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it. I came across it on a Kickstarter. It's great with Kickstarter because being in Scotland and just doing my own independent stuff, if I put my comic book on Kickstarter, I get people from like the USA, Canada, other parts of the world backing the project, which would usually be hard to do when you're doing Comic Cons. You can't just randomly meet these people. So you open up a nice community, you meet cool people, and they just become part of your growth, which is amazing. So that's why I'll keep doing it for now. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I hope so. Let me know when you come to Texas. We do have
Yeah.
quite a few. Like I said, I'm near San Antonio, some South Texas. But
Yeah.
I mean, I went to Dallas. It's 3 hour drive, not a big deal for
Yeah.
me. But
Hmm.
we have one called SpaceCon coming up, I think in September in San Antonio. That's a big one. Houston
Yeah.
has a big one. Austin has a big one. So there,
Hmm.
and then you got all these little tiny communities that have one. It's crazy. I've never seen so many cons in my life because I was
Yeah.
born and raised in California, and obviously you have San Diego, which is probably the biggest in the U.S.
Hmm.
You have WonderCon, you have LA, but there's not a whole bunch of small ones in cities like there is in
Yeah.
Texas. So I don't know if there's just more comic book fans. I'm not sure what's going on in Texas, but boy, you have all kinds of opportunities to do cons down here. So
Yeah, definitely. So I've got a family member there who works, and I'm trying to figure out like logistics, trying to find a printer there who can print my comic books so that I don't have to carry a lot of, comic books down there. So I'm trying to figure all those little details down, and once I'm all good, now I've got your email and we are
yeah,
connecting on social media. So when I'm down, definitely it'll be
yeah,
nice to to link up and chat, especially if
yeah.
we've made to
And if
yeah.
I could help out finding printers or something since I'm here, just let me know. Yeah, no,
Yeah, that if you have some really cool ones that are doing stuff there, you can send me some links anytime. It'll be great so that I don't have to,
yeah.
ship stuff over there. It becomes a nightmare when you start doing
I
that.
mean,
Yeah.
you don't make money when you have to do all that, and it's really hard.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah,
to be
definitely.
profitable, right? That's the whole point.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice one, man. Nice one. Nice one. Yeah. This
And then
was fun. This is fun.
how often are you able to get to the Congo? Have you been back recently?
So the part of Congo I come from is a place called North Kivu.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you watch the news a lot. There was like some, there's a war that was
Yeah,
going
Civil
on.
War,
So
right?
yeah, because there's a lot of minerals. So everybody's
Ah,
always fighting over
I know.
minerals. It's chaotic. So I come from North Kivu, which is on the border of Rwanda, and there, even if I went back right now, I could just go there and someone can shoot me or get kidnapped or something can happen and there's a shootout, and so it's not really safe. But most of my family have gone to Rwanda and Uganda. So if I want to see them, I fly down to like Uganda and just go and see them. And in July I'm flying there for a week as well. I'm doing another small project, but I'll get to meet them in Rwanda. So I'm able to meet them because if you go there something might happen. They'll take your passport and that's it. That it's kind of like you're going backwards. So
Wow.
for now, I'll just that's what I'm trying to do with my stories. I'm trying to show the world, okay, this is Congo, but how do I change people's perspective so that maybe the young generation can make the place safer for the future? The place has a lot of resources, but it's kind of like a cost. But how can you show the world that maybe there's hope in future for local people to exploit these resources and use them to benefit them and build their towns and benefit them healthy, their health and everything. So yeah, my story is always taking me to Congo because I'm just trying to, post a more positive picture about how Congo could be,
Yeah.
and that's what Bits of War is about, really. But I make fictional characters set in another alien planet, but that kind of like is a reflection of Congo. I really want things to change, and I want people to see it in a much better way. That's kind
Yeah,
of like my approach
absolutely.
here.
No, I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. Well, I'm sorry to hear that about your family having to leave, but hopefully everybody's safe.
Yeah, thank you, thank you,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
Everybody's there, some are stuck there, but it's life. It's life. But I'm here, and every day I wake up and I'm making comic books. I'm making film. I'm grateful, man. It's a great opportunity. I'm enjoying this journey. I'm grateful.
I love it. I love it. Well, Etienne, I can't tell you how much I'm excited to be able to meet you. I really appreciate getting to know you a little bit better. I hope we could stay in contact.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone that's watching this in the link below, right? You have everything that you need in order to back the Kickstarter. I'll put all your socials, everything in there so people could follow you, and hopefully we could be a little bit of support and get some people to notice the Kickstarter and back you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time as well.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
absolutely. I had an absolute blast. Hopefully, it's not the last time.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah.
All right, my friend. Well, I appreciate you and best of luck to you, my friend. Have a great
All
weekend.
right. Cheers.
All
Cheers.
right,
Thank you
bye-bye.
so much. You too. Bye.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.